Welcome to the Bowels of Retribution. If you're a lover of death metal, especially Swedish death metal, you know all about Sunlight Studios. A studio iconic for helping define the whole HM2 buzzsaw guitar tone. And these are my 10 favourite albums recorded at that iconic studio. Hello everybody. So, Sunlight Studios in Stockholm, Sweden, very much like Morrisound Studios over in Tampa, Florida, has played a big part in my life growing up, as being the birthplace of some of my favourite ever albums. So in this video I'm going to show you my top 10 albums recorded in the iconic studio, run by and owned by Thomas Skogsberg. And it has become iconic as helping define that HM2 pedal, that Boss pedal, that buzzsaw guitar sound. Strangely, in my list of 10 albums, they are not all HM2 sounding, and I think because it's a studio that has helped define that sound, I suppose it gets tarred with that brush that everything that comes out of there is going to be HM2. It's not. A lot of it is, and that's what we all know it for and love it for, but not all of them are. Situated in Stockholm, I believe in 2002, Thomas relocated the studio to a converted barn on the outskirts of Stockholm in the woods, which is just perfect, I think, for a Scandinavian recording studio out in the woods. The atmosphere and feeling you get from that is just perfect. But I've always loved that HM2 sound. I'm more of a, as you well know, I'm not a black metal fan really. I really like that bassy, meaty sort of sound. And Thomas Skogsberg, I think he called himself the king of mid-range at some point, but he always harnesses a real thick sound, and I love that. So before I get into my top 10, I'm gonna show a couple of honourable mentions, because these aren't albums, these are EPs or demos, but they need mentioning because they are so iconic in helping define that Swedish sound, I suppose. The first one I'm going to show you is an EP from 1991, and it is At the Gates Garden of Grief, a fabulous little EP. This and Red in the Sky Is Ours are my favourite At the Gates. The sound on this is as good as At the Gates have ever sounded, in my opinion. Just a brilliant little EP. The next one I'm going to mention is Needs No Introduction. It's really the only shreds remain demo. I do believe Premature Autopsy wasn't recorded at Sunlight Studios, but the only shreds remain demo from '88 was, featuring Abnormally Deceased, Revel in Flesh, which obviously went on to be on the Entombed debut. But yeah, iconic. Nihilist, one of the first bands to record at Sunlight Studios, and we all know the story of Leif Kusner, the original guitarist, and how that sound formed. He just ramped everything up to 11 and got on with it. So yes, always going to get mentioned. Another EP from 1993 by the band Utumno. I'm never quite sure how to pronounce that. Across the Horizon. Another one, as I alluded to earlier, that doesn't necessarily have that HM2 sound. This is more of a, I suppose, more of a Death Doom. I mean, look at the cover. It's got more of a Death Doom style. If anything, it's more in the vein of sort of At the Gates sound for me. But just a brilliant slab of Swedish death metal. again, if you haven't checked it out, please do. That's what these videos are all about, aren't they, really, for you, if you don't know of a band, to go and check it out. And the last little honourable mention, and it is only one song really, but this song stands up against anything for me that Entomb, Dismember, Grave, any of the Swedish bands recorded, and it is the song Morning by Nirvana, 2002, featured on the Projections of a Stained Mind EP, 1990, I want to say. Doesn't say. I think that's what it was. But yeah, a band that I would have loved to have heard an album from these guys back in the day, because like I say, this song, that ascending riff, it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and definitely worthy of checking out, even if it is only for the one song. The other song, Slumber, that a lot of people know the band for, again, I don't think that was recorded at Sunlight Studios, but definitely worth checking out. Nirvana, 2002. This is available on Relapse Records. So, at number 10 is a band from Sweden. This is their debut from 1993, and it is Necrophobic, with the release The Nocturnal Silence, an album that I was quite late to, if I'm honest, because I had this band down as a black metal band. Ignorantly, I know, but this is just brilliant. It's got a blackened edge to it, we know that. Again, you know, not all about that HM2 sound on this, but it is an absolute riff fest. It just goes from riff to riff. Every one of them just sinks its claws into you. So don't be ignorant like I was and dismiss this band as a black metal band. Yes, it's blackened death metal, but it's absolutely fantastic. And as the saying goes, better late than never, eh? At number 10, Necrophobic and The Nocturnal Silence. Okay, my number 9 is another band from Sweden. This is their debut from 1993 and their only full-length release, and it is the band Internal Decay, a forgotten dream, somewhat of a hidden gem, I always found back in the day. Not a lot of people seem to talk about this band, and again, not soaked in that HM2 sound. If anything, more akin to sort of a Gathering, that Dutch sound than Swedish. But one of the most atmospheric death metal albums I ever heard back in the day. Really, really good. Not typical of that Swedish sound. Not aggressive. It is melodic. It is aggressive, of course. It's death metal, but a lot more subtle than the more famous Swedish bands. Just a fabulous record. This is a recent vinyl reissue on Vic Records, and I'm glad to see it getting a reissue, because it deserves to be heard by more people. That is my number 9, Internal Decay and A Forgotten Dream. My number 8 is yet again another Swedish band. That was never going to be a surprise, was it, that a lot of these bands were Swedish? But an album, another one that kind of passed me by back in the day. No idea why. And I would love for this record to get a reissue, or just to find an original copy. But it is An Evil Shade of Grey by the band Cemetery from 1992. This is just a Polish boot, but an absolute fabulous record. And a lot of people talk about the guitar tone on this record. It's not HM2, but it is filthy. It's kind of got that dirtiness of that HM2 sound. But again, a bit like Internal Decay, I find this a lot more atmospheric than your typical Swedish death metal sound. There's a bit of keys in there to add a little bit of atmosphere. It's not as meat and potatoes if you will, as a lot of the Swedish bands. It's really, really good. And one that's just so hard to find. Originally out on Black Mark Records, but an album that has just grown and grown and grown on me over the years. And I absolutely love it. So please go and check it out. Cemetery, An Evil Shade of Grey. Fabulous, fabulous record. So, number 7. And another band that really isn't renowned for having that HM2 sound, but recorded at Sunlight Studios on one of my favourite albums, so it's getting included. And it's Therion, their debut from 91, Of Darkness. When I first heard this was death metal with a real filthy edge. Not a grind kind of edge. Maybe in parts it does, because it's not scared to blast, but I just love the dirtiness of the sound, the rawness, that sort of garage sound, you know, and not a typical sound in Sunlight Studios recording, really. But I suppose that shows you the talents of Thomas Skogsberg. He's capturing a band how they want capturing, and obviously Christopher and the rest of the guys in theory, and that's what they were looking for, was a real filthy sound, and they achieved it. But it's a brilliant, brilliant record, this. Only this album and their second, Beyond Sanctorum, are the ones that you need to hear by Therion. You know, they went on to be more of a operatic, symphonic, whatever you want to call it, but you don't need to listen to that, in my opinion. This is brilliant, and that is my number 7 in my top 10. Therion, Of Darkness. Coming in at number 6, and from what I believe, one of the first bands in Sweden to start playing death metal, one of the early creators of that scene, and it's the band God Macabre. This released The Winterlong, their one and only album. Initially started off as Macabre End, but changed their name to God Macabre. An absolute monster of a record, and a bit of an overlooked, even says that on the hype sticker, they're the most overlooked forefathers of Swedish death metal. And it is, because it does have a bit of that HM2 sound, but there's a real darkness, a real atmosphere to this compared to the more famous bands. A bit like, I suppose, a bit like mentioning with Cemetery and Internal Decay. Not what you would expect from that Swedish sound, but I always just love the darkness of this album. Even like is it Lamentation, I think it is, with the sort of acoustic Spanishy guitar sound. Just absolutely brilliant, just creates such an atmosphere. And if you haven't heard it, yeah, one that you really do need to check out. An absolute monster of a record. And originally put out on, what was the label? MBR Records. So the original CD of this is so hard to find. I've got a couple of Relapse reissues on CD, and this is a Hammerheart vinyl reissue. But yeah, please check it out. God Macabre, The Winterlong. Fabulous. My number 6. My number 5, and this band's debut from 1991. Grave, Into the Grave. I remember when I first heard this album, a friend of mine had got a dub cassette of it and he played it, and I was just like, oh. A bit like Nirvana 2002 when I first heard that track. When I heard the first Deformed, the first track off this, I was just like, ah, I have been waiting for that sound, that real thick bassy sound. You know, and I know Grave aren't as overdriven sound, and I know they didn't even use a HM2 pedal, but they've kind of got that feel about their tone. But I just love the relentlessness, the pummeling riffs and drums on this album. Just a brilliant release. Part 1 Century Media Records from 1991. My number 5, Grave, and Into the Grave. Coming in at number 4, and the only non-Swedish band to feature in this list. Yeah, you know who it is. Dark Throne, Soulside Journey, their debut, again from 91. And for me, their best release. I love death metal, Dark Throne. This is a fabulous record. Just riff after riff after riff. When I first started playing the guitar and I was learning other bands' riffs, I used to learn the riffs. Sunrise Over Locust Mortis, Grave with a View, just absolutely fantastic. I just love its darkness, I love its heaviness, I love its raw production. I love how Thomas Skogsberg captured Fenris's drums, such a live and raw sound, and that snap of the snare nothing's triggered in there. You know, if he hits it a bit harder than he did last time, it's kept in there, and I love that. I love that sound. Yeah, Soulside Journey by Dark Throne is my number 4. Coming in at number 3, and if I'm honest, these top 3, any of these could be the number 1, because they are just all iconic, fabulous albums. Some of my favourite death metal releases ever. Again from 91, the debut record by Dismember, Like an Ever Flowing Stream. When I heard this album and I saw this album, I loved everything about it. The fact that, I mean, you know, the iconic Dan Seagrave artwork on the front, the logo for the band, the look of the band, blood, inverted crosses, evilness, the song titles, Skin Her Alive, Soon to Be Dead. There was nothing as a teenage boy I wasn't loving about this band. An absolute monster of an album. Matty Karki's barked out vocals, you know, that aggression meets melody. I don't need to tell you about this album, do I really? You all know this, but just a brilliant death metal record. Essential to anybody into the genre. I think all of these are, and especially these top 3, they're essential. My number 3, Dismember, Like an Ever Flowing Stream. And my number 2, featuring many members of Dismember and the band, I suppose, that when Dismember took a hiatus back in the day, this is the record that was created. This was the band that was created out of that. And it is Carnage Dark Recollections from 1990. Featuring, I was going to show you inside, but this is the split, the Necrosis split with the Cadaver from Norway. So I can't show you the band. We'll just keep on with the cover there, shall we? Micah Mott, who went on to be in Carcass and obviously Arch Enemy. Johnny Jordovich on bass, who was he in Entombed? I'm not quite sure. He's featured on pictures of the band, but I don't actually know if he did anything. I don't think he did anything on this album either, but yeah, Matty Karki, David Blomkist, Fred Estby on drums. And Fred Estby is heavily featured in a lot of Sunlight Studio recordings, because I think he's one of the engineers there who helped out Thomas Skogsberg. But this album, this was the third band, or the third album to record at Sunlight Studios after Tiamat and Entombed. But yeah, I found when I first heard this album, it was, you've got Dismember, you've got Entombed. It was the perfect bridge between the two. I always found Dismember a little bit more aggressive than Entombed. Not that Entombed weren't aggressive, but I always found this was like the perfect blend between the two sounds, and just love it, you know, just love it. Deathification, Yeah, songs that Dismember would record as Dismember. So if you don't know of Carnage and you're a lover of Entombed and Dismember, you know you need to check this out. My number 2, Carnage and Dark Recollections. So at number 1, and it is no surprise really, is it, the first album that I heard with this sound. So the nostalgia plays a huge part for me, and it is Entombed, Left Hand Path. Their debut from 1990, featuring the vocal legend that is LG Petrov. Rest in peace, LG. And that's, for me, one of the things that sets this album apart and makes it my number 1, because LG, his vocals on this are just vicious. They are, I just love all the little bits that he puts in. You know his style, like that barking, aggressive sort of growl, shouty growl, but he even just puts the odd little bit in there, like a bit of a Tom G Warrior little moment, or a little laugh in there behind it, behind all those riffs, and it's just that perfect blend, isn't it, of aggression and melody. Again, like with Dismember, I don't need to tell you about this album, do I? Such an iconic band picture as well, that, isn't it? Again, iconic Dan Seagrave artwork. And for all you Clandestine lovers out there, this is the best Entombed album. I know Clandestine is an absolute weapon of an album, but this is where it is. This is one of the best death metal albums ever written and recorded in my ears. And it's my video, so I'm going to express my opinion to you, Anna. But please let me know in the comments if you disagree. That's what this community is all about, sharing our thoughts with each other. My number 1 favourite album recorded at Sunlight Studios is Left Hand Path by Entombed. Playing in the background is a more recent band that have used the talents of Thomas Skogsberg and Sunlight Studios, and it's another Swedish band, Exorcist, soon to release their 3rd album. This is their debut, Deadly Possession, from 2022. This is more, the newer stuff's a little bit more progressive from what I've heard, but this is just superb, old school sounding death metal, you know, recorded in 2022, but harkening back to the 90s, the early 90s with their sound. Absolutely brilliant record. That is what's been playing it in the background. A bit of buzzsaw in your ears. Nearly finished. Let's play a little bit for you, a bit louder so you can hear it. You know you need it, don't you, now, after hearing that? Thank you, as always, for taking the time out of your day to watch. It is always very much appreciated. Please let me know what your top 10 is. Let me know your thoughts on these albums. Do you know them? Do you love them? Are they brand new to you? That's what this is all about. This community of chatting, commenting, sharing thoughts. Please get involved. But until my next video, take care everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.